Let's go to video chat now. Gord Randall joins us from Crown Countdown U, University Football Television Show from TSN, football coach in BC. How you doing, Gord?
Doing well. It's great to be on with the headline of the program this time. I think I just got Darren last time. So
yeah, right.
Thanks, Gord.
Great to make your acquaintance as well, Gord. I appreciate it. I believe I was in Texas the last time that you were on. So, hey, did you love the CFL draft as much as we did last night?
Well, I loved it for the football fix, and I got to be honest, I was glued to the NFL draft the weekend before as well. It's just a nice break from the monotony of no live sports right now, as I'm sure everybody's feeling the same thing. And, you know, I will say I think people are being a little hard on the guys running the TSN broadcast. I mean, these guys are in 3 different time zones, all doing it from their own living rooms. It's not easy doing that, and it's not easy managing a broadcast like that from a production perspective either. So, I thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered, in bringing us a product that we were so desperately yearning to see. So,
have you in your mind picked a draft winner yet? Just for pure sizzle, I'm saying the BC Lions. What do you think?
Well, as you guys know, I'm out here on the West Coast and grew up a Lions fan, and I would agree with you guys in terms of making a splash. And in a market where they need to make a splash, I thought the BC Lions did a fantastic job. You grab the headlines trading up for the first overall pick. You grab Jordan Williams, who's probably going to be the guy best positioned to make an impact immediately out of this draft class. And you guys mentioned it earlier, he's 27. They better hope so. But the measurables on Jordan Williams, he reminds me of that classic potential CFL, like slips through the NFL cracks because he's a couple inches too short. But if you look at the athleticism, the measurables, 4.48, they had him timed in the 40-yard dash. This is a guy that can be a legitimate sideline-to-sideline guy, and he should have the athleticism to cover from that second level in the CFL as well. He could be an immediate impact guy. And then Nathan Rourke, on our program, we've covered Nathan Rourke just about ad nauseum. A very high ceiling on him. He's going to have to develop as a thrower. That's been the knock on him, is on the ground. In talking to some members of the Lions front office, the first thing they mentioned about him is the athleticism. And one of the comments that I got from them is, if he had been an American down at Ohio doing exactly what he was doing, he would have been on our neg list, and we would have been trying to bring him into training camp anyway. The fact that he has a passport is a nice little bonus, and so that's why they saw fit to see him to take him as high as he did. For a winner overall, for me, actually, and you guys are going to hate this as much as I do, I thought the Calgary Stampeders did a fantastic job with their top 3 picks. Isaac Ademi-Berglund, this guy's got some juice, guys. He sacked Joe Burrow multiple times when they played LSU this year. And if you watched, 3 of the members of LSU's starting offensive line got drafted in the NFL draft last weekend. There's some serious talent there. And I think in Isaac's career against the SEC, he had at least 1 sack in all 3 games where he played against an SEC opponent. That is some serious pass rushing juice. I'm really, really high on Isaac Ademi-Berglund. They take him at 3rd overall. And then the 2 receivers they take are both guys that we know well out here on the West Coast, in Travell Pinto, who I would say would have been in the conversation to be the first receiver drafted in this draft had he not flunked that drug test last year. Travell Pinto, a fantastic athlete, smaller skitterbug type of guy. They take him in the 2nd. And then they get Ryson John, the 6'6" and change, big target out of SFU in the 3rd round. And Ryson's a guy, he's got an NFL camp or an NFL contract right now. I'm not sure how long he lasts down there. They're going to ask him to move to tight end. And I just don't know how great that fit is for Ryson. Should they see him in the next year or so, which I am of the opinion I think they will. I think the waggle helps him out a lot. And then you have this tower going down the field that I think can be a real impact guy. So I thought Calgary did a fantastic job. And like I said, I hate to say that.
Oh, Gord, you're nailing it. And by the way, the Calgary fans are writing in, woohoo, popping champagne corks. They agree. But that is an absolutely outstanding recap, by the way. I appreciate that. And Brian Warishin's watching from the, obviously your buddy from the BC Lions Den podcast, and he says, what are we getting in Nathan Rourke? You already covered that. So let me ask you, from the East Division, can we break it down to the East Division? Who do you think won out there in terms of what went on last night?
I thought Montreal had an interesting draft in that, they didn't have a first-round pick, and they took 2 of their top 3 picks. They take Carter O'Donnell. They take guys that have the potential to be high impact guys. They also take Marc-Antoine Dequoy, guys that have very, very high ceilings. So that's a draft that could either be boom or bust for the Alouettes, and they could, in 5 years' time, we could be looking back at this as a fantastic draft for the Montreal Alouettes, where they got fantastic value despite not having a first round pick. That being said, I think Carter O'Donnell, on the other hand, is going to be in the NFL for the foreseeable future. Marc-Antoine Dequoy could stick down there too, but he's also had some injury issues as well. So there's definitely a lot of bust potential there from a CFL perspective too. I thought Hamilton did a really good job. And I mean, Darren, you've watched U Sports closely. Stavros Katsatonis in the 4th round to Hamilton is going to be one of the steals of this draft. That guy is an absolute stud. And he's another guy that had that drug test last year following him around. I thought that Hamilton, for that pick, amongst others, but I thought that was a steal of a pick in the 4th.
Yeah, really good. I'm with you on that for sure, Gord. Craig Smith's watching, and I know you talked about the Lions, but he talks about the 7th round. He thinks it's a steal with Caden Johnson, the running back from York. That's the guy who was in Saskatchewan, right, with the Huskies first. The track star went to York. I haven't followed his career since he went to York, but he was a real athletic superstar in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I believe that's the same guy. Yes, and I mean, at that point in the draft, you're looking at guys that can contribute on special teams right away, and then you figure out where their role is on offense or defense afterwards. But with a guy with that kind of athleticism, there's a guy that can potentially, I would say, he's going to provide you some sort of value in some fashion for sure. And then you just got to figure out where that value is going to be. But for a 7th round pick, I thought that was great. And on that note, I might add too, a guy I wanted to talk about a little bit is the 7th round pick the Rough Riders took, which is Jesse Lawson out of Carleton. I thought the Roughies had a pretty good draft too. In fact, I thought that all 5 of the Western teams had a pretty good night at the draft table. But to get Jesse Lawson in the 7th round is a pretty good value for a guy that is fairly football inexperienced and a big physical body. He grew up out here in Surrey, BC. Went to the high school that I coach at now, actually, before they had a football program. So he grew up playing community football, had only played about 2 or 3 years before he ended up getting to Carleton, basically on the weight of his massive frame. And he's still a guy who's learning the game. So he'll be a couple years of project, but that's a guy that you could potentially see some ROI on as well. And then, an 8th round pick on Nelva Gallimore, I don't think you're ever going to see him, but that's the point in the draft where you might as well put your name on a guy just in case, a Hail Mary, to use a football term. And so I like what they did there as well.
Wow, you're reminding me of Anthony Calvillo when we did an event together, and he nailed everything in his speech. I had no questions to ask him afterwards. He had everything covered. I was just going to ask you about Gallimore. So I'll move to this last question then. From Colin in Ottawa, and I don't know how to say the name. I'm not familiar with all the prospects. Kettle Assay? Mm-hmm. He says, why did he drop so much? He was taken in the last round, projected to be in the 1st round.
That's one of the questions that all the U Sports followers are asking today, because Assay was a guy, I believe he went down to the Shrine game in the States, pretty high profile guy, coming out of an offensive line factory like Laval, has all the measurables. Everyone thought that he would be one of the top offensive line guys in this class. To give you guys my answer, I don't know for sure. The only rumbling I can throw out there is that I heard that his lack of English language skills was a factor in this. I don't know from a football perspective if there was other things on top of that and what caused the fall. But for him to fall all the way to I can't remember whether it was the 7th or 8th round, but as late as he did, certainly qualifies as a surprise if he's able to pick up playbooks. And it's important to remember, despite Laval being a French language school, Glenn Constantine runs that football program in English. So I don't know how valid that language excuse is, but that is the one thing that I heard in trying to dig for some answers last night that may help explain that fall. Otherwise, I don't have a lot for you.
It's all good. Gord, this has been amazing. Anything else before we let you go?
One other thing I would say I have to correct, otherwise Jim's going to have an aneurysm. We're now crowned Gridiron Nation. So KGN on TSN, that's where you can hit us up on socials. Crown Countdown U is dearly departed. But check out our show. We will be doing our own draft recap that should go up on our socials in the next couple days or so. And then likely you won't hear from us again until the fall when college season, fingers crossed, hopefully gets started again. So.
Well, here's one for you, Gord. The boys had it right on the graphics. I screwed it up because it's branding. It's what was in my head. Crown Countdown,
Yep.
So you get it. Gord, this is awesome, man. Hope to see you in the fall.
Thanks, guys. I'm happy to be on anytime.
All right, Gord Randall joining us, football coach out in BC, and from TSN's University Football Show. How's that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.